hello. Welcome back to Two Nigerian Women. My name is Ibukun.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again. My name is Abidemi, and we're happy to have you in studio with us today. Today is a bit of a somber one because we've just, I don't know, I think it's very, very important that we talk about things that are happening in and around us because there
Mm,
seems to be so much going on with families, individuals in terms of relationship, but the recurring theme we keep hearing every blessed day is domestic abuse.
mm,
And domestic abuse, it's a spousal abuse, obviously, but a lot of the times we're hearing more of the male to female than
mm,
female to male, though it does exist. But a lot of stories have been happening. A couple of days back, we did read in the news, like Nigerian news, though the couple they're based in the UK, how a Nigerian guy that just
mm.
came, I think came to the country 2022 or 2023, killed his wife in front of his three children, and the police got there. He had a restraining order to stay away from her, but he still came around and killed his wife with the skates, with his child skateboard. And the
Wow.
police were right outside the door when it happened, and they just managed to they broke in after the deed had been done and met her dead. Now that is a family, or those are kids that are going to end up in social care because they're not going to send them to Nigeria. They're now the property of the government, which is really sad because daddy is definitely going to prison and mom's going to be buried. Where does this bulk stop? And I find that I know it cuts across all races and nationalities and all of that, but I find that it's very, very rampant among the African, especially Nigerian. For me, because I'm
Mm,
Nigerian, the Nigerian community that are coming into the UK maybe in the last 5 years. So what is going
mhm,
on? Like I just feel that, and you have also people that are saying, "Oh, whatever you do, your wife's going to tempt you. Or what's that word? It's going to push you to the wall. Don't bring her to the UK. Come on your own." Do you have those people on that side? But are
mm,
their excuses, are they valid? I don't think they're valid because marriage is made of two people, not one individual. So what actually is going on when these abuse cases seems to be on the increase every time? And we're talking about we're talking about um sorry, we're talking about sorry, I have the brainwave. There's all sorts of
Don't
abuse.
worry.
There is financial abuse as
Mm,
well. There's psychological
yeah.
abuse. There's all sorts of things. There's the gaslighting on another level that is there. There's
Mm,
all
mm,
of that. But domestic abuse encompasses a lot of things. But I think it's the build up to other things. But I feel now this is my opinion, and I don't think it's not for everyone. But I feel a lot of these cases that are happening among our Nigerian community are people that have been enduring that in Nigeria and they
mm,
still relocate thinking that things are going to get better and it doesn't get better. Or sometimes you have situations whereby that shared responsibility, the man doesn't want to take his own bit of the shared responsibility because here when you come
mm,
to the UK or you leave Nigeria, you don't have any helps. You don't have anybody. It's you, your significant other, and your kids. And if your kids are really little, then just you and significant other trying to keep the house running. You have the cleaning duties, the washing up, the tidying, the shopping, the dropping
mhm,
kids off in school for after school activity, all sorts of things, and then you have to still work with all of that responsibility that comes with it. And you have a lot of situations where by the men, because in Nigeria they've been enabled to not do so much because there's a help.
mm,
There's somebody,
mm,
domestic worker that can help. They come to the UK and they're on their own and they don't know how to do these things. And it is a problem. And the
mm,
couple seems to clash over simple duties as putting your plate away, washing your plates, emptying the dishwasher. If there's a dishwasher, doing the washing, mopping the floor, washing the bathrooms, that a lot of people they had helps doing for them in Nigeria. And then they come
mhm,
here and it puts a strain on our relationship, and then that creeps in. Sometimes it's just things that be happening in Nigeria and they think it's permissible to come and continue here. And a lot of men will say that the women push them, but we have to understand that a marriage is made up of two individuals that genuinely love themselves. Yes, it gets to a point that it's not, it goes from that crazy head over heels in love to a friendship, a genuine friendship, but a lovely, loving, caring friendship, that they genuinely love themselves, but it has gone beyond that. And there has to be some kind of understanding. You do not leave Nigeria and come here and expect that your wife will still be doing all the things she used to do in Nigeria and more without any support from you. You need to pull your weight as a man of the house, not only dishing out orders, is not only telling the kids what to do. The children are also looking at you because they are going to school and seeing other kids, their fathers being fully involved in their lives in every sense of the word. And you have the mothers working and the men also working as well, but still dropping off the kids, picking them up, doing this, doing that, run them to activities. And that's how it is. The man and the wife work together in unison to for the betterment of the family unit. But a lot of the time, you have some of the men not wanting to do that. But correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just too passionate about this thing, and it's something that's weighed heavily on my heart because it seems to be rampant. I hearing these stories, sometimes near death experiences, sometimes death experiencing. You have couples that come here and they've decided to go their separate ways and they don't want to be
Mm.
together anymore when they came to this country together. But what do you have to say about it? Because I just think I really, really get into these things and sometimes I get really, really carried away because it is something that seems to be happening all the time. I live in a university town and I see these
Mm.
things. I go to the shops like a while back. I don't know if I ever told you. I went to the shops and I
Mm.
saw this Nigerian guy with his wife. She
Mhm.
had just had a baby. Dude was cornrowed and looking all young and like he didn't have any marriage. He wasn't married anyway. He looked that way. And
Mm.
he was having a go at his wife because I think she didn't bring any shopping bags. Because here, when you go to the shops, you're required to pay for a bag if you need a bag to take your shopping in. So I think was really upset that she didn't bring any bag. But she had a baby. You have baby brain, you don't remember. It's not an excuse, but he could have remembered to bring the bag. And
And
then and then I
how was
think
he
he
having a
carried
go? He was shouting at her, or what? How was
he was
he?
shouting at her and looking, and she was just forming or looking. He had the baby in his hand, but was really, really, really rude. I was very uncomfortable hearing this, even though I was just a passerby. But he was really rude to her, and you could see that she was a bit in limbo. She didn't know what to do because they had shopping and I don't think they drove, so they had to walk to wherever they lived. And she didn't even bring a baby carrier. The baby wasn't strapped to anything. Didn't have a car seat. Sorry, didn't have a push chair. If she had a push chair, that would probably have been easy. There was no push chair. There
Mm.
was nothing. And he
Mm.
took the baby from her. I don't know what he expected her to do when he came to taking the shopping. I think that they had not started shopping. They were about to go in, but I definitely knew what he was talking about. So you have those kind of situations like it's your responsibility to do what you need to do. And you have a lot of these young men, young or old men, because this man that killed his wife wasn't a young man. He was an elderly man, like 47, I think. But you have a lot of these men that have gotten away with just being outrightly rude and disrespectful to their wives while in Nigeria. And they think it's permissible to come and do it here. And so we have these situations that are happening. But correct me if I'm wrong. I think you need to come in here because I think I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm really, really upset.
I can hear the upset, Sissy. I can hear the upset. If I start with, it's not permissible in any country. I think what you are saying, and it's true what Sissy is saying, it is something that is just passively acceptable. Well, no, I don't even think that's the word. I think it's
Not
just so
passively, it's
common.
openly encouraged.
I know to be rude to your wife in Nigeria. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. There are
Eh,
people who will pull
uh,
you up. There are people who will pull you up. It's not permissible in any country.
I don't
Let's
know
be
what
frank.
part. I don't know what part of Nigeria, Auntie. When did you leave Nigeria? I don't know what part of Nigeria you're talking
That's
about.
another
Ain't
situation.
nothing.
No, no, no. But
Everybody, everybody's going to do their
ah,
business.
wait,
Seriously.
hold on though. Hold on though. In,
Maybe
if
it
you
was in
will, in
Nigeria in the
elder.
90s. In Nigeria of today.
Okay, Sissy, let me put to you what I
Okay,
remember.
maybe if you live in a
Let me put to you what I
if you
remember,
live in a
Sissy.
military establishment, like I grew up in a military establishment, so you have people that would go to report to the superior officer, and the husband will be severely punished, dealt with abuse. But that was in the
No,
90s. I'm not talking about
no,
now.
no. Okay, so
90s and
okay.
80s.
The family, so I grew up in Nigeria till I was in my late teens. And there were dynamics used that I saw, I observed within my family where there was conflict between a married couple, and they would approach my grandfather to help them resolve it. And he never condoned it. And yes, you could say that was in the 90s, but I know it happens now, even amongst, if you will, my wider cousin group and so on and so forth. It's not permissible, but it is known that it happens, and a lot of men are not pulled up on it. It's domestic abuse is something we know in Nigeria is not necessarily addressed legally in the right way. And in that sense, it's harder for a woman to report to a law officer that she's going through this, and therefore the man is dealt with in the legal sense. But if you will, amongst the wider care group of society, it's not acceptable that a man is beating his wife to the point of death. Pretty much, it isn't. It generally it isn't. There are some
But
unfortunate.
we actually haven't had any man.
Sorry, say
Sorry,
again. Go on. Say again.
we haven't actually. We have not had anybody that has actually gone to jail for killing their wives in Nigeria.
No, we haven't. I'm agreeing with you. See,
There's
I'm
a
definitely
woman
not
called
disagreeing with you. Mhm.
Omozele. She was, I think she was from Edo State. Her husband was a pastor in Redeemed, or maybe not Redeemed,
Mm,
but pastor, and he killed her. And then he pretended
mm,
to be blind, and I think that's why she kind of died a natural death. This was 2012, 2013. So
Belen.
yeah.
Mm. No, see, this is a really sad state of affairs. But I wanted to start with it's not acceptable. It's not even a cultural thing. It's a social thing. It's a genuine social thing. There are so many proverbs about obviously not killing people and so on and so forth. But anyways, the point is it's not acceptable. I think the situation is exacerbated, like you said, when you do not have help that the woman can refer to help, if you will, with the physical activities, and then she becomes more vocal because she's in a free society like the UK or the States or wherever else they move to, and therefore the man feels he can still do certain things that he did in Nigeria because he thinks it will still be covered. And of course, the extreme is when it gets to the point of killing the spouse, and it happens both ways, unfortunately. But to your point, Sissy, it's more the male affecting the female. This is a very delicate topic, and we're not talking as experts, we're not talking as psychologists, we're just talking as very concerned two Nigerian women. Yes, it's a pun on our name, but that's what we are. We're two Nigerian women, and it's affecting, if you will, our demographic in the diaspora. What do you do? Now, this is something that I think, unfortunately, we wish upon a star as women with things like this. If this started from Nigeria and you moved to the UK thinking it was going to change, you are a bit disillusioned, to be honest with you, because the character of the person does not change by their location. It changes by the renewing of their mind, which you would want to think changes because they've changed location. No, the renewing of the mind is not a
Mm.
geographical situation, it is their core beliefs. A lot of them have grown up with violence in their own homes. They saw their father or uncle or whoever do this to their partner, and they thought it was allowable because, like you said, there was no consequence for it. Now, when you are in this situation, and I'm pretty much just going to address the woman because the man is doing whatever he feels he needs to do, which is stupid, but it is what they do. Now, if you're a woman and you come from Nigeria with a spouse that, yes, you've had tensions in the marriage that go down a physical, we are fighting each other, you need to address
Mm.
it head on. You can't wish it away. You can't presume
Yeah.
now that you've moved to the UK or the US, it's going to change. It would not.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a 99.99999% they will still do the same thing. You might still cover it, But the thing is, the streets talk, as they say, especially in this country. The neighbor would hear you. We have thin walls in our houses here. The neighbors would hear you, and they would come, those that are nosy enough to ask you, is everything okay? And if you palm it away, they might leave you, but they will talk amongst each other. And eventually it will get to the wrong place that this guy is maltreating you. You need to be very careful for your children's sakes as well, because these children in this unfortunate story are now going to be under the care of the government, and they are
Yeah.
traumatized for life. They watch their mother die in front of them. So what, how best to say this? There is a responsibility you have to your own self and to your children to make sure this is not repeated. And yes, you can pray about it, especially for those who tend to understand prayer can change things. I'm talking Christians specifically. You can pray about it, but you also need physical action. You both need counseling. So some people have short fuses, some people have long fuses. Everyone has a fuse. But if you are what's the word? If you always trigger someone's fuse, that is a problem, number one. But then the person with the fuse themselves, they need to understand why their fuse is so short in certain aspects.
Mm.
And they need to address that in therapy. I'm actually a huge advocate for therapy right now, because I know a lot of us are dealing with significant inner pain that we have never addressed. We've never actually been encouraged to have an outlet for. And as a result, we are living handicapped. And we do not know it until that fuse is lit, and then things escalate. Because for the guy to be given a restraining order, she reported it, or someone reported it, right? It's the
Yeah.
police would not
I
just
think the
come.
neighbors, I don't know what the story was, but this thing, I don't know what the story was, but this thing has been going on since they came to the UK.
Okay, so at least the law was involved. The law was
Yeah.
involved. And so, if you will, she went down the right path of not just tolerating it, but reporting it. But somehow the guy got in and then eventually killed her. Could it have been prevented? I want to believe passionately, yes, it could have been prevented. But the only way it could have been prevented is if the work had started earlier on. Number one, we don't know the genesis of the abuse. But if he was abusing her in Nigeria and they both decided to move to the UK, that's an immediate red flag, because then you do not have the support system. Because to be, I didn't want to even use what I was about to say. Let us look at it
Mm.
pragmatically. He didn't kill her in Nigeria, where he had even more allowance to be mad, right?
It was a frustration, but I think he will still do what he wants to do and he will get away with it.
No, but the point was, it didn't kill her in Nigeria. It was in the UK he
Okay.
came and killed her. Now, in
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria, if he was doing what he was doing to her, if the support system there did not address it sufficiently, did she report to the right support systems? Is the question. And we're just looking for, see, or like I said, we're not therapists here or psychologists. We're literally just trying to see where a stop could have been put to this madness. So if all she did was report to, if she was a Christian, report to the pastor in the church, report to her mom or his parents or his family members, and did not go and look for professional help, then unfortunately that whole thing wasn't exhausted, and the burden is not just on her. The burden is not just on her. But then they could have seen moving to the UK as a fresh, start. It could
Start.
be like, once again, we don't know the story. It could be he asked for forgiveness, came and said, "Oh, but we now have this opportunity to move to the
Because
UK."
abusers always apologize. Abusers always apologize. They always say they're sorry. They're not doing, it's the work of the devil and all of
Also,
that. So it's
also,
not a one time thing. You don't wake up and kill someone. It's a gradual thing.
exactly.
It was
But
it
the
came with a intention to harm. How dare you report me to police? How dare you step out of the home? How dare you have a restraining order on a house that we both rented? I don't think they bought the house. How dare you? The
Mm.
audacity is all of that. So he had the intentions to hurt. It was premeditated murder. It
Of
wasn't,
course.
oh, I didn't know what I was doing.
And the full book of the law will be
Must
thrown
have
at him.
really, yes, he must have really, really hurt her the other times. That's why they gave him a restraining order.
Yes.
And can't go
Okay.
within 15 meters of.
So let me ask this: could this have been prevented, Sissy, at all? Do you think it could have been prevented?
Yes, because police was at the door hearing all of this. And they were knocking and nobody answered.
But then how would they have
They were
prevented it?
tired. If they had forced their way in, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know who called, but police were at the door. If they had forced their way in, instead of standing there waiting for someone to open the door for them, they would have saved her. She was
Mm-hmm.
at the door when they came in.
So the
She was
police
at the
should have
door.
broken down the door, is what you're saying.
Yes, and gone in.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
that
okay.
would have
But
saved the life.
wouldn't that even still have been too late for the trauma it's caused the children anyway? Because
Well, this
for
trauma
that,
is. I'm not equating trauma, but this trauma is a
mm,
lot worse. They are never going to see their mom again. Never going to see their dad again. Never. And you know
I know.
how the social
Okay.
system, yes, it's a blessing in disguise for people that have no choice. But you
Mm.
know how things can go from bad to worse. It's either you turn out really good or you turn out really, really somehow. It's a
No, but
slippery
see, we don't
slope.
even
Do
want
you
it to
understand?
be. So, okay, what I'm trying to, if you will, trace back, so a domino
Mm,
effect backwards, where
mm.
could this madness have been stopped? Number one, I don't think they should have left
I
Nigeria
think the
in the
first time
states
that
they
he
did.
hit her,
Sorry?
yeah, the first time he hit her and hurt her.
Mm,
In fact, when somebody threatens you, I think you should take it seriously. A threat is something that could happen. Most of the times will happen. So if someone should threaten you, don't take it lightly that
mm,
it's just words. Words when spoken can be taken back. So I think from the very start, when he started threatening her, I don't know how many odd years ago, but I don't
mm.
know how old their first kid is. There was not much information, but hopefully more stuff will come to light. But when he started threatening her, she should have taken it serious. And the first time he hit her, then that would have been the next thing.
Because that is my
But then again,
concern. Yeah.
it's a weird one.
No, but you see, this is my concern. Unfortunately, a lot of us in painful situations, we just absorb it. We just absorb
Mm-hmm.
it. We do not address it. And it could be due to number one, not knowing how to address it, possibly, or it could
That's it.
also
Yeah.
be the we I think most people are eternal optimists. It would get better if this happens, if that happens. But I think you've hit the nail on the
Mm-hmm.
head with the statement you made. An abuser would always seek to abuse unless they have corrective action. Because if you leave an abuser to their own devices, no intervention, like significant intervention, or not that I went to report him to mommy or daddy, and daddy said, don't do it again. No, that's not it. It has to be they go through therapy with actionable results that are observed before you carry on with them, because this is the concern.
Mm,
Where do you stop it? It's not about the police breaking down the door at quarter to midnight when they're about to kill this woman. It is like you said, when he hit her, God knows how many years ago, because like he's 47 years old. We don't know how long they've been married
yeah.
for, but it's not
Yeah.
when they came to UK he started hitting her. So there is a family I
Hmm.
know, and we knew them. Like we were in and out of their houses, like on a regular basis when we were
Mm,
children. Growing up, I did not know this man was abusing his wife domestically because it was
okay.
all covered up. My parents did not know, and they were friends, like friends, which meant, unfortunately, the woman never felt she could share, or she didn't think she should
Yeah. She
share
was going
in
through.
order for
Yeah.
an intervention to happen. Then years later,
Yeah.
back to the similarity is startling. They moved to North America. Years later, no support system around them, no help around them. This man was going rogue because the tensions that were already there were further amplified by the change in
Mm,
geography, where you do not have a support system and where you have more
mm,
frustrations because you're trying to adjust to a new reality. This man beat
yeah.
her until she lost consciousness. So almost till death. Then the son tried to intervene. He beat the son. This was the anger that was obviously intrinsically inside this man. Beat the son until the son lost hearing in one ear. On the
Hmm.
restraining order is such that this man cannot enter that country again. He will be arrested on sight because that's how significant the case was. It wasn't even her that had a case against him at the end of it. It was the government that had a case against him. Now,
Wow.
in understanding that the genesis of it, like I said, we were all in Nigeria together. We knew nothing about the extent of abuse, but they went on to
Hmm.
a better life thinking that would change. It amplified it. See, I think I've said this before. Experience is the teacher of fools. And we're not saying you are a fool, but you become a fool when you decide to experience it yourself. Learn from other people's
Mm,
experiences. There are certain things that would. It's the rule of unfortunate. It's unfortunately the rule of nature that someone who has this issue would manifest it again and again and again unless it is fully addressed. Anyone who is listening to this, I'm begging you on behalf of God, because God has shown you this example. If you're going through this now,
mm.
do not think by something physically changing, it will change your outcome. You are at
Yep.
high risk of going the way of many others before you. Seek professional help. Yes, still talk to the people around you. Hopefully, they have enough, what's the word? Enough understanding of how dangerous a situation like this is, and they do not
Mm,
dismiss you or your concerns. But it's highly
yeah.
concerning if someone starts to hit. Address it. Do not think something will change it. And that, unfortunately, is what's
Mhm.
happening to a lot of our sisters. So, if you will, to summarize this poor woman has, I pray, gone to heaven, but her children are left here on earth with trauma for a lifetime. There are many women, and there's this film on Netflix. I think, Cecilia, I was telling you about it, about a woman who ran away
Mm,
from her marriage because of domestic abuse. And this woman was separated from her child because the man in that part of Nigeria retains ownership of the
mm.
child and controls who can see or
The
cannot see that
potential.
child. And you
Mm-hmm.
do need to understand that there is unfortunate consequence to a broken marriage, a divorce, let's put it plainly, that you might not be able to cope with. But at least you'll be alive, is a way to look at it.
Mm.
So please
Yep.
be very cognizant of, it's not you that can change that other person, whether it is a man or woman that is being abusive. It's not you that can change that person. It's God primarily, and then genuine mental and emotional work that that person needs to go through. If they're unwilling to go through it, run for your life. Genuinely run and do not look backwards. That's my thoughts, Sissy. I don't know if you want to summarize and close us out.
No, I don't have. I just feel very passionate about this, and I
Mm,
really don't like talking about it because it wears me down and weighs
mm,
heavily on my heart. Because you can definitely see a lot of the times you can see when someone is being or is on the path to being abused. But only them can't see it, but you can see it. Is the way the partner is speaking to them, or the way he's reacting, the way the partner is lashing out. You have a lot of that. So I think I've said my piece, and without letting myself get sucked in, because I need to have a productive session, I am just going
Mm,
to end it here. But I pray for anyone that's going through this, even if it's a
mm,
threat, don't take it lightly, because these people, whoever the individual, male or female, because abuse can go either way, will carry out their threat. It is not ordinary. So I think when somebody says they will do something, take their word for it and run, or get the right support, or all of that, wherever you find yourself. There are lots of support groups that are available in the UK, or support charities that help victim of domestic abuse. And there are a lot of, even as well, a lot of safe houses, because you have people that are going through stuff like this, and they have to stay hidden from this significant order because of how obsessive and controlling that individual is towards
yes.
male or female. So yes, there's a lot of support. I don't know much about Nigeria, but I think there is a bit of support, especially if you have a political figure, like a government official, or somebody, that political appointee, that's genuinely interested in the welfare and the well-being of its constituents, or even people around, even the
Mm,
women of minister of the minister of women's affairs. You have a lot of
mm,
that though. So those
mm,
people can come in handy if and when these kind of situations arise. But I think if you see something, say something, speak up, and don't keep quiet, and don't condone abuse, no matter how sweet that person can be after the abuse has taken place. And with that, I think I'm done for today. But it was lovely hanging out with you guys. I'll hand you over to Ibukun to close us out.
okay. We're praying for those going through this, as Sissy has just said. Take care of yourself and call things out. Do not be passive. Do not be passive. God bless, and we'll see you in our next podcast. Bye.